The coaching I don't know why I tried to think I could do that. 3, 2, 1. The coaching staff shuffle is complete, at least for the Cotton Bowl. Welcome to Snap Judgments. It is New Year's Eve, and it is the eve of the Cotton Bowl. And he's Jeremy Birmingham, and I am Austin Ward. Ryan Day calling the plays. We already knew that. Brian Hartline coming downstairs from the press box. He will be coaching wide receivers on the Ohio State sideline. Keenan Bailey heading upstairs, I think, to help organize some of this game plan and be the eyes in the sky for Ryan Day. So some moving pieces that are now confirmed as Ohio State gets ready for Miami in the Cotton Bowl Classic in the College Football Playoff quarterfinal on Wednesday night at AT&T Stadium. That's a lot of information all at once, but this is pretty significant.
That's what Snap Judgments are all about. They're about judgments.
It is.
Made snappily.
Well, I didn't make them I didn't introduce it snappily, but you can react in a much more rapid fashion.
The question is, does it matter in the big picture? We talked already this week about the potential ramifications of this game, of this playoff run for the coaches that are on this staff who might be in line for a promotion. It is an opportunity, certainly for Keenan Bailey, who received a lot of praise today from Ryan Day at the coaches' press conference, to prove that his ability to be an organizer is going to separate him as Ryan Day starts to really look into hiring a new offensive coordinator. I still don't think eventually that's where this goes, but it is a pretty interesting audition for a guy like Keenan Bailey, whose only coaching job really in his entire life has been as one of Ryan Day's right-hand guys. So that's interesting for sure.
For a team that talks about routine as much as Ohio State, and really every program does, this happens to be the one that you and I cover and talk about 365 days out of the year on 97.1 The Fan and 10 TV and 10 TV Plus. For them to have this level of change and disruption going into the playoff, I know that there's nothing that they can do about it. It's the situation they're in. It's the way that the calendar works. It's a decision that Brian Hartline made for his career moving to South Florida. All you can do from then is find the best way to adapt and evolve and adjust going into the playoff. So I'm not surprised that this is what they're doing, but there was also, I don't know, and maybe I'm getting too hung up on a minor detail. There was a world where the infrastructure and the seating arrangement stayed the same. Yeah. That Brian Hartline spent all year, all 13 games upstairs, and what he saw up there was relaying that information to Ryan Day, to Billy Fessler, to Carlos Loughlin, Tyler Bowen, to Keenan Bailey on down the road. Like, that's the way that it worked. You know, is there something else that would have necessitated this adjustment? Because, clearly Ryan Day thinks that it's necessary, or he wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't spend the entire season talking about how important routine is and how important consistency is, and then make a fundamental change to your coaching staff's alignment a week and a half before your playoff run begins. So it wouldn't have happened if Ryan Day didn't think it was very important. I think it's clear to him after the Indiana game and how the preparation for that week went. Now, again, that's a much different scenario, and I think we can all be fair to Brian Hartline and to Ryan Day and say there were a lot of other things going on at that time, and likely things have calmed down enough that you might not expect a similar result. But if there's even a 5% chance in your mind that it's a similar result, you can't accept it.
Yeah.
Because you have to win this game. If you don't win this game, your season is over. So that was not the case against Indiana. They knew that, and I felt they probably were okay with like, hey, let's see if this still works. And understanding and learning quickly that it didn't sort of forces your hand to say, we can't allow that to happen again. And again, to what you said earlier, maybe it's making too much out of it, but when there's little changes in a structure that is as precise and as clockwork as Ohio State is as a football program, those changes can have lasting ramifications.
All right, so Ryan Day and Miami coach Mario Cristobal talked at AT&T Stadium on Tuesday. Final walkthroughs going on for both programs on this day. They spoke for about 40 minutes, as is always the case, given the interest and the size of the Ohio State beat. Ryan Day got most of the questions, and a lot of that was revolving around the offense, the play calling, and Julian Sayin. Did you think that there was anything else noteworthy from either coach?
No, I mean, I was interested just to hear Mario Cristobal talk, because I've never really listened to the guy talk. I think he's very straightforward. I think he's clearly trying to build Miami into a program that is a national power like Ohio State has been. And, one thing that didn't get asked, and I was curious about, and I will probably if Ohio State wins on Wednesday night, I'll be honest. I am curious from Ryan Day's perspective how much the game against Mario Cristobal's program in 2021 shifted Ryan's philosophy on what it means to be a head coach, but also what he needed his team to be. Because, there's been so much conversation since 2021, the narratives about Ohio State, the soft team, all that stuff, that it all ignited at the Michigan game in 2021. But the ember for that was the Oregon game in 2021 when Mario Cristobal came into Ohio Stadium and bludgeoned Ohio State. And it's hard not to recognize how much Ohio State shifted both offensively and defensively from that game and what it forced Ryan Day to do as he looked himself in the mirror. And I think Mario Cristobal, didn't get brought up, but I think he deserves some credit for the evolution of the Ohio State football program. And I wanted to know if he would regret that.
You're going to go to Mario's postgame?
Maybe, because, he is in a lot of ways, he's responsible for what happened.
I think that's a really interesting point, Birm. I had not considered it. In fact, until you mentioned it, I hadn't even really thought about it. When you say that it changed fundamentally the way the offense worked, I don't know that I would agree with that entirely. And I only say that just to preface it because I completely agree on defense.
Yep.
If you don't have the realization from Ryan Day after that game that he had made a mistake in the hiring process, that Kerry Combs was not ready to be the defensive coordinator, that he did not react immediately with a snap judgment to change that play calling setup, which again is interesting as we're talking about the offense going into this game, and changing that with Matt Barnes, and then that setting the foundation for what he knew he was going to need in terms of an experienced head coach of the defense, that bringing Jim Knowles into the equation, and then building on that with what Matt Patricia is now. I 100% totally agree that the way that Oregon won that game and the way that they attacked the Ohio State defense gave Ryan Day clearly a different understanding and appreciation for what he needed in that position and a lot more responsibility to go on that plate. Offensively, I think we talk about that game a lot, and C.J. Stroud threw for 1 billion yards in the loss, and he wasn't to blame for it. If anything, maybe you're right that as I'm thinking about it in real time, because you threw this at me, that trying to throw 50 to 60 times in a game, even if you have elite wide receivers and an elite quarterback, is not a viable strategy week in and week out or in talent-equated games, which we didn't even really think that was going to be against Oregon in 2021. But that is a turning point. It is an inflection point. There's no question.
Yeah, on the offensive side, I think more of what you're getting at there, which is you don't have to win the way that you always did. You don't have to throw it 74 times with Dwayne Haskins. You can just bludgeon someone offensively as well. And obviously it's taken a few years for that evolution of Ryan Day to happen, but some of that required him to take the step back from play calling and all the other things that I think, his style of offense was always go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And realizing that he can hire someone else to run the offense and do different things. It's just one of those games that has sort of been lost to history because it was an early season game that was irrelevant in the year that they lost to Michigan, and everything else spiraled out of control for the next 4 years after that because of that game.
Yeah.
But for Ryan Day's reputation, for his legacy, the way that he's viewed nationally, that game, that was the genesis of it all. And I'm interested to hear from Ryan if he's ever taken a minute to think about that, because I hadn't until seeing those two stand there together on the stage.
Really, I think it's a great point. It'd probably be worth some more conversation. Maybe not on Wednesday, maybe later on. We'll chat with Bobby Carpenter with a road version of the live show and get his thoughts on that and dive into that a little bit more later. If this is snap judgments, and it's got to be quick. Personnel-wise.
No personnel updates, really. Ryan Day did not confirm that Gabe Van Sickle was going to be the starter at right guard. He didn't deny it. He certainly leaned into the conversation as you asked the question. Interestingly enough, he did say that Jackson Corville and Jaden Fielding have been competing for the kicking role, and confirmed once again that Jaden Fielding will be the guy that they go with. So nothing has fundamentally changed. This is a team that's healthy. They're getting ready to practice. It's 1:20 here in Dallas. They'll probably be on the practice field in 40 minutes or so, if I had to guess. Maybe a little longer, maybe an hour and a half, but it's
scheduled to be a short one. It'll be a walkthrough because it is the best Friday in football. Yep. So they will have, I think, 75 minutes or so that they are scheduled for AT&T Stadium. So that's a shift. They were at Highland Park High School on Monday.
Yeah, they don't care if anybody videotapes them dunking basketballs in the garbage
You can
cans.
have all the video you want, Mario, or whoever you are out there trying to get practice footage. Probably Kirby Smart trying to get ready.
Unbelievable.
I can't say those things. That's not this. We're not a conspiracy theory show.
No.
Not right now.
But it's probably Kirby Smart.
Could be anybody. Not a concern in here, and it'll be our last time talking to you at AT&T Stadium until New Year's Eve. We'll get back in here for pregame keys. We, of course, will have some bold predictions on the beat for Wednesday morning. Stay tuned later on 97.1 The Fan and 10 TV's YouTube channel and 10 TV Plus as well for the live show as Bobby Carpenter touches down in Dallas. Nicole Cox and the Roosters winners are also at the Hotel Hilton Anatole. So we're going to go swing by there. We'll have another conversation because we're just not done talking about this game yet. How can we be? We're too excited for the Cotton Bowl Wednesday night, Ohio State in Miami. Thanks for joining us for Snap Judgments. He's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward, and I promise you, we're going to talk to you later.